what's up everybody? Landon with LMR.com. We have Scott Springer with us today. It is dyno day and we're going to be dynoing this 65 K-Code Fastback. It does belong to Scott Springer. Has done quite a bit of work to it since he's acquired the car, so we're going to kind of let him run through it and then we'll make sure we cover all the dyno technical data, but there is quite a bit of stuff going on with at least the engine for this car, so we'll have all the information down in the description. So Springer, you want to run us through everything?
Yep, this is Walter. This is a pretty special car to me, and the reason why I call it Walter is because the original owner's name was Walter. I bought it from him in 2018. I was very fortunate to be turned on to this car by Ted Vaughn after actually seeing it at a garage sale, believe it or not. But it's a 64,000 mile, 65 K-Code Fastback. If you don't know what the K-Code is, K signifies the 5th digit in the VIN, and it designates the 289 Hi-Po engine, so the 271 horse solid lifter camshaft. They made about 600,000 65 Mustangs, and out of 600,000 65 Mustangs, only about 1% were K-Code cars. So the K-Code was a really special deal. It was a solid lifter cam, top loader 4-speed, 9-inch rear end, and these are the cars that they sent to Shelby to turn into GT350s. They came with competition suspension, they came with 8,000 RPM rally pack, they came with a quick ratio steering box, factory dual exhaust, along with a number of other things. You know, from the alternator pulley to the motor mounts, the car was built for the purpose of being a performance Mustang. So this is the first performance Mustang we saw. You didn't see very many of these cars because you couldn't get them with things like automatic transmission, power steering, air conditioning, stuff like that. It was a pretty bare bones competition tower, you know, purpose-built car. This particular car, when I purchased it, had been repainted white by the original owner. It was originally springtime yellow. It was a little bit worse for the wear. The engine was a little bit tired, so I pulled that engine out. The car was running and driving when I bought it, and I wanted to keep it that way, so I stuck a spare 289 I had back in it while the engine was sent off to BES Racing Engines. Tony Bischoff and his crew took this engine and updated it and built it as it should be. Kept a solid lifter camshaft, but we went with a roller. It's got roller rockers. He did some tricks like convert it to a one-piece rear main seal. The original heads have been bowl blended, new springs, and gone through, and I've got the original intake, carburetor, manifolds, and everything for it, but after the engine build, I elected to go ahead and put a Shelby Cobra style intake on it. It's got a set of JBA Tri-Ys on it, and it's got a JBA side exhaust. So all kind of day 2 mods for the car that made it, in my mind, and as much as I'm ever going to be able to afford, it turned it into a Shelby essentially. What you see here is mostly what they did when they sent these cars to Shelby to have them converted into GT350. Factory rating on this car at the flywheel was 271. Shelby rated these cars with the intake manifold and headers at 306. We got some flywheel dyno numbers from Bischoff when this engine was built. We'll probably show you that later. And then we just got some wheel numbers that I was pretty happy with. I'm pretty impressed. Heck yeah. But it's an amazing car. It's a very special car. You know, not only because of what it is, but the way I came about it and the people that I've enjoyed this car with along the way. And I'm going to keep it forever. It's not perfect. You know, it was kind of actually took a little hit in the late 90s at the top here when Walter owned the car. Kind of got the top of the core support and the hood and the fenders, and he put some reproduction parts on it. That's when he painted the car white. Eventually I'd like to go back to the original springtime yellow, but I enjoy the car so much, I drive it so much, I hate to take it apart, you know. Special car, and until you experience this thing, I don't think you really get the grasp of how far these cars have come, but how good the first one was. You know, it's an amazing car to drive, it's a blast, and makes good power.
Sure enough, Springer, thanks for that rundown. It's always good to hear from the wiser folks around here about all the classic stuff. I know personally, being a younger guy, I'm not well versed in this, so when they're talking, I'm definitely listening. Springer kind of ran you through everything. We're going to do the pull in 4th gear. We got 93 octane fuel in the tank, 15-inch wheel.
15-inch wheel.
Yeah, we'll flash up the tire size, all that good stuff. So there's a good rundown, so let's go ahead and turn the rollers. we'll go ahead and flash up on screen right now the flywheel numbers from the engine builder. That way y'all can kind of look at those for reference. That was a STD or standard correction factor that they use, so we're going to translate that over here for the first round of numbers, and then we'll switch it over to SAE just because who doesn't like to geek out over some data. So first hit, the car made 288.6 horsepower at 5,400 RPM, and then torque was 294.3 pound-feet at 4,700 RPM, which, Springer, I think that was a little higher than what you had hoped for, right?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's definitely rowdy for sure, being in the driver's seat there on the dyno. So typical fashion, we always like to do 2 runs, but with this second run, did pull the air cleaner off, correct?
Yeah, and it didn't help.
It did not help. So we'll go ahead and pop up that second run for you. All right, so run 2, like Springer said, it did not help. Little loss in horsepower, little loss in torque to the tune of 284.4 horsepower, 5,300 RPM, and then 292.1 pound-feet of torque at 4,500 RPM. Cut it a little short, heard a little bit of just slight breakup. We always like to be a little conservative here, no sense in pushing anything, especially something like this. But while we're here, let's go ahead and jump over to that SAE numbers just so y'all can see the difference. We have a video on that explaining the differences between the 2 correction factors. Y'all can pause, rewind, look at the differences, but like I said, there are subtle differences just because of how they're calculated. All right, everybody, let's take a little bit of time and unravel these numbers. Pretty rare that we have the ability to compare dyno runs from both an engine dyno and a chassis dyno. In typical driveline loss theory, the percentage that it takes to turn all the drivetrain components is about 15% from engine dyno to chassis dyno. However, for this particular engine that's in Springer 65, actually about a 19% drivetrain loss, 4% more than your theory. However, making a note of the rear wheel horsepower, it's making just shy of 1 horsepower per cube to the tires, which is pretty impressive considering the period correct stuff in this particular engine. So I hope y'all appreciated this one. Glad we were able to dyno something so cool and so unique. If y'all find value in what we're doing, please consider liking the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and then till we see you in the next one for all things dyno, keep it right here at TheRealEnthusiast, LMR.com.